What's going on, world? How are y'all doing on this great evening, this great Thursday? I am your boy Tay Jones. This is your favorite podcast for the love of the core, and I am accompanied by some a co-host, a guest co-host, and two permanent additions to our podcast. Tune in, welcome in. How everybody doing? What's going on, y'all? Hey, how we feeling today?
Good evening. Happy to be here.
Hey, listen. This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna start off with some introductions, a couple admin notes, just so you are tracking. For the Love of the Core is live on YouTube now. Right now, this podcast is being shared on YouTube as we speak. If you are not tapped in
Woo!
already, if you are not tapped in already, ensure that you tap into and subscribe to the YouTube channel and the YouTube page because hey, we're trying to spread the good news. That's all we're trying to do. We're trying to spread the knowledge. With that being said, my dog Mike Dog he gonna be on the net soon. And shout out to my man CP man. And he doing his first certain things right now. Let's start off with some introductions. We're gonna start off though with Drew Ori, Captain Ori, as we like to say. Can you give us an introduction of who you are, what you do, and yeah, just tell us a little bit about yourself real quick.
Thanks for having me. So I am an H2F dietitian. I was a clinical dietitian before I commissioned, and I've been in the trade act setting as H2F, and now I'm over in ForceCom over at Fort Bragg, board specialty in sports nutrition. I commissioned specifically for H2F because I wanted to help those people who actually wanted to help themselves. So love it.
Oh, wait. Season 3, new permanent host, 2 additions. Y'all done seen them around before. Hey, Christine Patrick, man, talk to us, man. What's going on?
Oh man. So I'm Chief Patrick. I've been in the Army going on 17 years next month. I've been a little bit everywhere, 3rd ID, 101st, 82nd drill. I just came from Germany and I'm now have the amazing opportunity to do training with the industry. So I'm literally in the middle of the city of Minneapolis working at Wells Fargo for the next year. I love to travel. I have 3 kids and I'm just happy to be here.
And hey, no introduction needed. Y'all probably done seen her on the podcast before,
hmm
but this is the first time she's appeared on the podcast as a permanent member of the For the Love of the Core family. Miss Maisha Boston. Can you tell the world a little bit about yourself real quick for those who do not know? Cause Temptations.
Uh-oh. Can you hear me, Mike? I don't know if it froze. You
We
Yeah.
can
guys
hear you.
good? All right. Hey, sorry, I have my camera off today because I'm in the middle of PCSing, but Master Sergeant Maisha Boston, I am transitioning right now from Fort Bragg. I was the 18th Fires Brigade senior HR, and now I am transitioning to the DMV to be an IG. Yeah, I'm excited to be here. I love this podcast and what they're doing as far as informing the force, being able to have healthy discussions, being able to facilitate conversations at different echelons to get the necessary information down to the lowest level. So I'm excited for the opportunity and to support this group. So thank you for having me, gentlemen.
Hey, with further ado, a shout out to the National AGCRA committee, man, Dr. Clark and the entire committee. They support our podcast, and we try to do our best to kind of push out information to the field. If you are watching this podcast for the first time, hold on, Mike Dog, we got to introduce you, even though they see you before. Hold on, my bad, brother. Talk to us.
Hey, what's going on? Am I clear?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hope y'all having a great evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you may be at in the world. It's a pleasure to have y'all on tonight. We are making history. Yes, we are making history. We're on YouTube. Make sure you are subscribing to our YouTube channel as well. We dropped the link for our YouTube on our Facebook page. And shout out to the Iron Mike chapter, even though, there's some tears going on right now. Leaving Fort Bragg, getting ready to head to the DMV. So, Potomac chapter, you got a dog coming on your way.
Listen, I'm not going to claim a chapter yet until I sign in officially. But I went from the Potomac chapter and run up to the best chapter, the Gold Vault chapter. We here. Addition to the team will be here. I'm here to make the Gold chapter greater. Use me. Wait, are
And
y'all
I'll be there
affiliated
next
with
year.
y'all? You'll be there next year. Are y'all affiliated with your AGCRAs? I'm just curious.
I was in the European. I was the
just swapped
secretary.
from Iron Mike, where I was a VP
Mhm.
for plans and programs, and just signed as a part of the Potomac chapter, and look forward to supporting them.
I was the secretary for the European chapter, but now I'm in Minneapolis, so no.
We're gonna get you all the way together. Hey, so I don't think we should belabor this conversation anymore. Hey, what conversation we having today? I mean, I ain't gonna lie, it is a hot topic. We talking about this new height to weight ratio directive that was published. What can you expect from this podcast and this episode of this? We are simply doing what every leader should be doing anyway, which is breaking open this directive, reading, and ensuring that there's a full understanding of what it is to be expected from us within our organization. But I would not be honest if I said I didn't have questions. Your boy, I got some questions. I'll be honest. I got some questions. Right? With that being said, though, that's all we're gonna do. We're gonna break down this directive. Hey, for those of you all who are watching in the comments, if you got questions, maybe drop your questions in the chat. Anything that you ask and we don't know, and I can't even say that we're going to know, but we're going to take those questions, we're going to elevate them up to the proper channels, and then we will post responses to you all's questions probably tomorrow or as soon as we get the answers to the questions. Without further ado, you think let's go and break this directive open real quick and go line by line.
Absolutely. So what you're looking at right now is Annex A. It's implementing guidance for the height and weight ratio measurement procedures for the ABCP. So essentially, it's to give like an overview on how this process is going to work, and we're going to break this down line by line. Again, like Jones said, so that way there's no deviation or questions about it. You know, we're going straight out the doctrine on this one. So we're going to first start out with paragraph Bravo 1, addressing the height. So the height will be measured with a soldier in socks without shoes. That's flat out, right? Make sure you got
no change.
All right. The soldier will stand on a flat surface with the head held horizontal, looking directly forward with the line of vision horizontal and the chin parallel to the floor. The body will be straight and but not rigid, similar to the position of tension. When measuring, the soldier's height is rounded to the nearest half inch. I want to highlight this last sentence, okay? When measuring, the soldier's height is rounded to the nearest half inch. So we'll say check on learning. Let's say an individual is 72.6. What are we rounding up to?
You're going to round down because you're closer
Down.
to 0.5.
You're gonna round down.
Right?
You're
The
gonna
nearest
round down.
half inch. So
Bingo.
mathematics. Use a little
Bingo.
chart with a little tick marks like you used to do back in the day to get to the closest number.
Right.
Wait, but hold on. Let me just say this though. The reason why I think this part is significant, because essentially ever since I've been going through height and weight, I've been rounded up to 72 inches. So my expectation is that when I go and go get stand on this height chart, that it's 72 inches. But theoretically, now I'm 71.5, which we'll get into it, not to skip around, but those half inches changes the circumference of what your waist can be to be within compliance. But that's the only thing I'll say about that.
And then too on the height, leaders, make sure when you're measuring your soldiers, right, in your formation, make sure they stand at a position of tension. That's the easiest way to get it done. Slouching when you're standing up, make sure that they're standing up as tall as they can to get an accurate measure.
Yeah.
All right. So, any questions on that one? We good? Okay. All right. So,
yep.
All right, so moving on to the next one. We talk waist circumference. Although circumferences may be looked upon by untrained personnel as easy measures, they can give erroneous results if proper technique is not followed. I want to just talk about this for a second, right? It's important to make sure that your individuals, when they're going through this process, they're trained on how to do this. Okay. Just like we've done with previous height and weights, your cadre, quote unquote, those NCOs that are going to essentially see this process through, you want to make sure that they're trained to the standard on this. All right.
And that, if I can chime in, that should just be in general, right? Because when you're thinking about people that are getting flagged for Army Body Composition Program, like your unit should identify what personnel are properly trained and authorized to tape personnel, so there's no confusion, right? Versus we grabbed Sergeant Joe Schmo that has zero experience to do taping, and I've seen it, right? And then when you're doing confirmatory tapes, you're seeing that there's egregious errors, and so it's very important that you're trained. Like, I know Captain Ori will get into it, but we were talking about this, right, when they were talking about, you know, top of the hip bone and iliac crest and the bottom of rib cages, right? People that don't have anatomy classes don't understand what landmarks they're looking for. And so having experts that can train people appropriately and not somebody that just says they're an expert on, you know, on paper.
And there are a lot of resources on everyone's installation that can help train individuals, dietitians, Armed Force Wellness Center. So if you don't have someone who is trained, you can get the right people in.
Hey Jones, you're muted, brother. No, your mic not working, dog. He said, "You good?" Why are you trying to figure your stuff out? We're moving on here. The individuals taking the measurements must have a thorough understanding of the appropriate body landmarks and measurement techniques, and we just talked about that here earlier. Unit commanders will require that personnel taking the measurements have read the instructions regarding technique and location and obtain adequate practice before official waist to height. Waist to height measurement determination are made. Individuals taking the measurements will be Army non-commissioned officers or higher or DIG civilians trained in waist circumference methodology, right? So, I mean, it said it clear, right? NCOs, like this is your lane, right? This is your lane to make sure that you are taking care of your organizations, right? Now, this is where we start getting into how the standard really should be, okay? 2 members will be utilized in the taking of the measurements. Hold on, let me see.
Wait, hold on, my dog.
Yeah.
Hold on. And this is, and so anybody tapping into the chat, so we understand that there is a discrepancy between the directive and the 5500. What we are doing is we're literally just going to read the directive and then look at that 5500 because we want to highlight verbatim the differences in the two, right? Not sure if the using, right, if it's supposed to be the directive, right, or if it's supposed to be what the 5500 says. That's what we don't know, but we want to acknowledge we have already collectively identified within our own group what are questions that are clarifying. So we already know we're going to take this question and we're going to push it up higher and to see if we can get some clarifying answers on which is the way to go. Is it what the directive says or what the 5500 says?
And if it's with what the 5500 says or what the directive says, always go in favor of your soldier.
Say it again.
Go in favor of your soldier.
And you know what, my dog, what I kind of wish we would have done, and I probably shouldn't say this like this, but I wish we would have broke open the directive first instead of the annex.
Yeah.
Because the directive is what was notification to us of this being implemented, right? Because there's a lot of talking points just from the directive that we could do, but we'll go through the annex and then we can pull up the directive and stuff like that.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, and again, like this annex really talks through how the process should be, you know. Because if we don't get how this process should be, I mean, we're not going to get the directive right at all. So
right.
Let me go back in here. Okay. So 2 members will be utilized in the taking of measurements. One to place the tape measure and determine measurements, and the other to assure proper placement and tension of the tape, as well as record the measurement of the DA form 5500. Right. So essentially, what's going to happen is someone's going to lay that tape. Right. Someone's going to lay that tape across that individual. Right. Essentially, that other individual is ensuring that process is being done correctly. A good practice for this, and I've seen it in organizations I've been a part of, is let's say myself, I'm laying the tape down. I'm getting down to a knee and I'm meeting them right there at the navel, right? I'm meeting them right there at the navel and I'm running across, right? And we go through it. Whoever's behind me, right, they're checking to make sure that it's laid down the right spot, and they are going around the body to make sure that it is even across the marching surface. That's what I've seen done in previous height and weights.
So I have a question, and I have a question to you, Jewel. When this directive was published, right? Did the H2F M2F community, did they come together as a collective? And is the Army going to do something to recertify the certifiers in alignment with the new directive? And the reason why I say this is because there is one part that says it's the naval, and maybe some of these things have already been cleared up already, right? There's one part that says the naval, which I believe that's what people are saying. And there's another part that says the midpoint. So the question is, ma'am, have you received any clarifying information? Is it the navel or the midpoint that is being measured?
So I have pushed this question higher because this was a question amongst dietitians as well. And we need further clarification. So it needs to come from higher.
Right.
Yes. So no, I don't have a good answer for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Hey, John, I'm glad you brought that up too, because again, like we said in the chat earlier, these clarifying questions that we're going to make sure that we send these RFIs up the proper channels.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
All right. So we're good. All right. So the member recording the measurements is responsible for signing the DA form 5500. The member recording the measurements. I just read that. Soldiers should be measured by trained individuals of the same sex. Let me repeat this one more time. Okay. Soldiers should be measured by trained individuals of the same sex. If the trained individual of the same sex is not available to conduct the measurements, a female soldier will be present when a male measures a female, and a male soldier will be present when a female measures the male, right? So I don't know how different organizations have done it. Normally, like I said, when you see this, right, when I was at the NCAA, one thing we used to ask if it was an all-male tape team, which we tried to prevent, just depending on how things were going. If there was a female that was in a room, like, hey, like, we're going to ask a question, like, hey, do you feel comfortable with an all-male tape team, right? Let's get a female in here. Like, hey, like, we want to make sure we do this the right way.
But what I want to say, though, right, words have meaning.
Yeah.
It says should. It says should.
Yep, should. Absolutely.
Does not say that it has to be.
Nope, it doesn't.
But I'm gonna say, even though it says should, don't put yourself in a predicament to get yourself in trouble by arguing with somebody who's uncomfortable for you being in the room.
And that's something where, like, initially, like when I used to work in NCAA, that's the first thing. We'll introduce ourselves as the height and weight team, and then we'll ask the question like, hey, do you feel comfortable with this current tape team in place? As soon as we hear no, we're gonna say, hey, step out the room. We address it with the first sergeant and say, hey, let's go ahead and rectify this. So that way we don't put yourself in a situation where it could be a sharp violation later.
Yeah. But even okay, yeah, nothing. Yeah, we good, brother.
Yeah, we good?
Yeah, we good, brother.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So the two will work with the soldier between them, so the tape is clearly visible from all sides. Take waist circumference measurements 3 times and record down to the nearest ½ inch. If any one of the 3 closest measurements differs by more than 1 inch from another 2, you'll take an additional measurement and compute the mathematical averages of the 3 measurements with the least difference to the nearest ½ inch and record this value. When I read this is not different than what we've done in the past in that regard. right? If it's more than an inch, you always do that additional measurement.
Yeah, but I will also say the part of this that gets overlooked is having the correct tape to measure. Right. I just wish I wish the Army would push out something that says this is the official measuring tape that you would use for height to weight ratio or something like that, right? Because every unit be having different things because it's subjected to the commander, right? And so then what happens is it's either is it the tape that is wrong because it's a different type of tape, or is it the folks that are doing the measurements, is that different because, you know, everybody isn't trained the same or isn't measuring the same? There's so many nuances that I think within this that I wish was clarified in this directive. There is an innocent for the tape. Okay, there is an innocent for the tape.
There is, and you are supposed to measure the tape against a rule or two to just verify the accuracy.
Mm-hmm. Mm. And that was something that working at NCOA that we did is there was an additional process that went into it. It's like you had the rulers out and then you put it against the tape, like ma'am said. And we asked the individual right there in front, like, hey, can you verify that an inch is an inch? Flat out, so that way there's no discrepancy across the board.
Hey, there's a question in the chat from
I think another
Vincent.
thing is like making sure that we standardize what tapes are being used. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but in some organizations, they're just using whatever they have available, and that's not right. And so, again, going back to whatever doctrine is going to be, whether they're going to, you know, what it previously was, or whether they're going to update what the tape should be, and then making sure that it's enforced.
I wonder, though, like with that question, right? Like, I wonder, and I don't know if Jewel, if you can answer this or if you have the answer to this, but with that tape that's being used, is there a I guess you can say like a lifespan of that tape, if that makes sense?
Yeah, honestly, I don't know. That's a great question. I don't know if it depends on how taut or how much everyone pulls that tape over a certain amount of time, if it wears out a little bit quicker. I don't know. Luckily, for things to purchase, it's one of the cheaper items, so it's easy to replace.
Well, I think with the field and what soldiers and units, the sentiment that folks will share is that the tape teams are not certified. I'll be honest with you. Like there are people who be getting enrolled in the program now. Hear me out when I say this. I always say if you're too close for comfort, then you already too close anyways, right? If you're too close that on a bad day, that bad day doesn't go in your favor, you're teetering the line too much. But that's a whole nother topic of conversation. But there are some individuals who have been enrolled due to, if it should be NCOs, but due to NCOs not knowing how to tape because they were taught wrong, right? I think if the Army's going to come down with this directive like this, I really wish they would have put in more decisive measures and was consistent throughout all of this. Like, it is mandatory, in fact, that your tape team has to be certified every 6 months, right? Through the Army Wellness Center or whoever it is, right? To create uniformity across our entire organization, because if I'm being honest, it's not uniformity across the board.
Yeah, so I see the one comment about the MFTs who would recertify and certify NCOs quarterly. Over at the H2F Academy now, they don't even, that's taping isn't even part of the curriculum. You'll learn the anatomy, so you have that aspect, but you're still not certified. You don't do any taping during the 2-week course. So
first sergeants need to verify and have training before the official day. I don't want to stir the pot on this, but I know Maisha Boston I know Maisha Boston gonna get me, but it's all right. If you look at the directives, boy, they took that NCO out of that. When we get there, I'll show you. And what I mean when I say they took the NCO out of it, they took the onus of keeping that standard. They removed that NCO and put it on the commander. even though it's always been on the commander. No, don't get on me. Army organization. Let me, come on, stay on topic.
But I'm going to say, just as an advocate for your soldier, if you know they are pushing it or coming close, you can always tape them beforehand and say, hey, this is your courtesy. This is your wake up call. Before you actually get flagged, some habits need to get changed.
I'm glad you said that, ma'am, because I had two soldiers. One I received in, and she had literally just came off of tape, but you could tell that she was borderline, right? And so, one, I think it's showing soldiers that you care about them, right? Because I know some people say like, oh, the commander can take somebody and then they feel targeted. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, if it's not personable, right? Like you don't have a relationship with somebody, but you as a leader should be cultivating that, right? So like for my soldiers that were struggling in that area, or like for instance with their AFT, we put a plan in place, right? And this isn't a, hey, I'm targeting you, but like, hey, I want to see you be successful. And we have all of these resources, right? So like my soldier, long before we had our next AFT, went to you guys, went to your nutrition classes, right? She came in for weekly checkups. She did the bod pod, all of these things. And part of that too, it allows them an opportunity to find that intrinsic motivation. So I used to share with them too, is that there are leaders that aren't going to care as much or be as involved. And it's unfortunate, but it's a true fact, right? And so how do we get you to a place where instead of somebody having to, for instance, stand over you or make you do these things, you're proactive about this, understanding that it can impact your career, whether you have longevity in the Army or whether you risk being separated. And so building that mind frame for them is so valuable early and often. And so a lot of these soldiers, like I had one that had the opposite effect. He had an unhealthy relationship with food because he lost a significant amount of weight to join the Army, which is incredible, right? But in doing that, it cultivated a very unhealthy, unrealistic relationship with food. It's where he was not fueling properly, right? So we would be doing PT and he's falling out with severe cramps and vomiting and all of these things, like for instance, like causing ulcerations because his body was so malnourished. And so also being able to identify those things by having a more intimate relationship with them and having those difficult conversations. And so I think that's such a great point, and it is so important. If you're not doing it, I encourage you to start doing that. And you're coming from a place of care, not as you're going to get kicked out. Don't come from a pessimistic perspective, but helping them to start like caring about and seeing the value in themselves and taking care of themselves, and then afford them the time and opportunity too, right? Because we can be the leaders that are like, we don't have time, we can't let you leave work. And so how do we have that work-life balance? And part of the work balance is like total soldier concept, and their health and their fitness is a part of being a soldier. And so making that time and carving that time out to where they can take care of themselves as well.
Right. And so, and just looking at the directive says something along the lines of the commander is responsible for the admin portion, right, of this new thing, correct? Now, when I hear responsible for the admin, does the commander sign the 5500? Right? What gives that? What gives the outside entity inside look to know that the commander is administratively taking responsibility of this program now? This is why I say this, because when I look at this 5500, it says 2 members, determine measurements other. The member recording the measurement is responsible for signing the DA form 5500 in the prepared by block. Soldiers should be measured by trained individuals of the same sex. Right. So, but when you look on the directive, it says the commander is responsible now administratively for this program. And so for me, and once again, this is what I say you should be doing in your organization anyways, right? These are the conversations we should be having with each other to make sure that we're understanding, because all our interpretations are different. What is the flat line thing? So who signs the 5500, right? Is it the measurer or is it the commander? Because when you say the commander is administratively responsible for this entire process now, where is their signature at on this?
Yeah, because the annex says who's conducting the measurements has to sign.
But it says that they're signing prepared by, right? They're still the supervisor block. And then when we talk about ABCP, the commander has always done a counseling, a flag, nutrition counseling, the soldier action plan. That's always been a commander's thing, not an NCO, not first sergeant. If it was being delegated, I mean, it was wrong to begin with, but that's always been the commander's lane.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Okay.
We good on this one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So we talked the uniform, right? And this is pretty standard what we've been doing. No chain. Make sure that you're wearing a APFU t-shirt. Undergarments that may serve to bind the abdomen are not authorized for wear when a soldier is being measured for the height and weight. This includes, but it's not limited to, girdle-like undergarments. So really what this is saying is sometimes you'll have service members wearing spandex, underneath their PTs. It's like, no, that's no, that's the wrong answer. Measurements. So when measuring waist circumference, compression of the soft tissue requires constant attention. The tape will be applied so that it makes contact with the skin and conforms to the body surface being measured. It will not compress the underlying soft tissues. All measurements are made in a horizontal plane, parallel to the floor, or like we like to say, parallel to the marching surface. That's why I talked about earlier, whoever is that secondary individual, they can go around and make sure that it is parallel to the march surface and it's not doing one of those tilt to the left and then tilt to the right type of things, right? Unless indicated otherwise, measurements of the waist will always be rounded down to the nearest half inch. Now, what I was mentioning earlier, and this is a good TTP that I always recommend for teams doing height and weight. Whoever is going around, and let's say for instance, you're going through this process and you notice that the tape is off, right? Be professional about it. Tap your bat on the side, and like that's y'all cue, like, hey, it's no good. Like, hey, retape. Versus you actually go through it and now you screwing the soldier in the end. No, you and that whoever that tape team is, however y'all want to do it. For us, when I went through it and I was certified, if we did a 2-tap, hey, we knew that for a fact it's a retape because the tape was applied wrong. So again, you want to make sure that when you're going through this process, and again, it's all about taking care of the soldier, because this can be a career ender. This can be a career ender if they stay on this program and they don't rectify themselves, right? So you got to take in the best interest of the soldier. Did anybody want to add to that real quick?
This is where I see the most errors being made, though, is the tape being like just clenching in, soldiers are holding their breath, trying to make their way smaller. It's not going to help.
Don't kill them now. Don't choke them with the tape. Nice and easy. All right, so measurements will be conducted by a soldier of the same sex. In the event the same-sex soldier is unavailable to conduct the measurement, an opposite-sex soldier may take the measurement, provided a same-sex soldier is present to observe and verify correct procedural standards, and it talked about that earlier. During the measurement, the soldier will stand with their arms hanging naturally at their sides. Removal of the shirt is at the soldier's discretion. Female soldiers may fold the bottom of the t-shirt upward and tuck it securely in the lower band of the undergarment. All soldiers may expose the abdomen for waist measurements by lifting the shirt and securing it at the neckline / t-shirt collar. The soldier may gather the bottom of the t-shirt.
My dog, I'm sorry to stop you real quick.
There you go.
I'm gonna just read this. I just want to read this comment off. Shout out to Sergeant Major Smith, the Kingmaker, my mentor, Himothy. All right, his comment says, hey, the requirement for commanders to designate a non-commissioned officer for ADCP administration is hereby rescinded. And so, okay, commanders are directly responsible for the oversight, quality control, and execution of the body composition program within their unit. This just means I do not have to be an NCO. Commanders have always been responsible. This doesn't mean the commanders have to take. They just need to be invested. NCOs will still enforce the standard. That was for me.
Spot on. So I made you spot on with that. Okay. And then the equipment, I don't want to get into the weeds on this one here, because there's, again, we talk about this is more so talking about like the texture of the tape. And oh, by the way, we asked about the NSN earlier. The tape is located at the bottom of this paragraph. It's located at the bottom of this paragraph. It says what the standard is for this tape. Okay. We move on. This has been a hot topic. We said for a while, and I say for a while, as long as I've been in the Army, we talk about the tables. That has been a hot topic, really, the last 10 years or so for sure. And hey, we have a change now. We have gone away from what the tables used to be, and this is what the tables are allowing. Okay, so again, this is off what's your height, going off your height, and what your max is when it comes to your waist. You have to divide the two, and then it's going to give you a number. All right, it's going to give you what your number is, as far as what your resulting ratio is going to be.
Hey, Mike, look at the background real quick. Look at the background real quick, Mike.
So what?
Look at the background.
What background?
Let Maisha back on.
Okay. Did anybody else have anything to add when it came to really the annex?
So what I was going to say is, like you were talking about with the tape, right, and having the NSN, these are the kinds of things to making sure like your organizations get the proper equipment. So when you're talking about, for instance, an IG complaint, you have valid complaints when you're not performing things to standard with the authorized equipment. And so if you're not currently in compliance, making sure that we're putting those orders in, we have 90 days to ensure our units are doing the right thing to be prepared to execute this.
Yeah, I think also too, man. Like me, when I see the emphasis on like I said, man. Listen, I'm speaking for me only. When I see the emphasis on the commanders program, right? Like as an NCO, I take it personal because it's like, hey, we got to just make sure we holding everybody to the standard and doing the right thing at all times, right? Because in my mind, if we was, it wouldn't have to be said.
So
right?
I disagree, only because a lot of times the only time these soldiers are seeing the commander is because they got flagged, right? And now they're a part of the program and they're getting their, monthly weigh-ins, etc. And so I think the continuity of officer and enlisted, like we are partners, right? And so same when it comes for like first sergeant commander, I think presence matters, and not just when it comes to the bad things. And so they should have oversight. They should be involved in what's going on in their formations, and they should care, right? Especially if there are concerns, it shouldn't be brought up after the fact. If they're readily involved, then they're able to observe, right, and make recommendations or what can be done better, etc. And those are the kinds of things that I think that commanders should be facilitating. But I also agree that we are stewards of our profession. And so, like I said, as simple as like, hey, we know the tape is wrong, but we're just turning a blind eye, or like we talked about with setting soldiers up for success, but it takes a little bit of our time, and so we don't want to do it. And so looking at it from a holistic standpoint, I think that it's good that they are pushing commanders, but I also know that they have so many things that they're juggling, right? And so how do we, to your point, execute it well to where their
Right.
presence is a benefit and not because we aren't doing our jobs as NCOs?
You're saying exactly what I was saying. We're on the same page, Vidal.
And something I want to add too is, you should practice like you play, right? Just like if you do this tape and let's say that your soldier fails, do another tape, right? So just like you in real time for record, if you fail, you're going to get a confirmation test, right? By another tape team. I think we should create good habits. That there's a saying, creating pro habits. A pro habit is, okay, let's say if you go for a trial run to see where you assess at, okay, cool. That tape team says that you fail. You need to go grab another certified tape team that had no bias. They don't even know what happened, right? Go grab another one and just to get another look, because they could have got it wrong. And in your eyes, you're thinking, oh, you're not where you need to be. Well, oh, maybe they just don't know how to tape. So again,
yeah,
you should.
I think it's a perishable skill too, to your point, right? If you're only taping every 6 months, it's a perishable skill.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely.
And so how do you stay relevant as a tape team? Well, you should probably be taping often, even if it's just for practice, so that you maintain your proficiency.
I would say maintain your proficiency by doing it, but also if it's been a while, then you need to go back and reread how to do it. Just like we do for the AFT and the instructions. It's the same thing.
100%. Did we want to go over the directive as well?
Yes. Let's go over the
Okay.
directive real quick
All
though,
right.
because that the directive is a shotgun blast. Nah, it's not a shotgun blast, but this was the okay, it's officially happening. But now
You
before
wanna
we
go-
get into the directive,
Oh, you want to go over there, brother?
yeah, only thing I would say is this directive for me is different than the. So I know everybody's going to say adapt to the change, the standard, all these other things, Roger, tracking all of that. But let me tell you why this is different for me. Right, when the AFT was official, it was published officially, and then after the official publication, you had time after it was official to get where you needed to be. Right, this to me was published 1 July, effective 1 July. You see what I'm saying? Like usually before AFTA, you got 180 days or 1 year for the AFT to be the official test. If you take it and you fail it, you can't be flagged. But if you fail the APFT or the AFT or ACFT, then you can be flagged for such case, right? So this directive is different because it's effective now and it changes the game. And my oversight is this: for someone who had a 465, 80 in each event, their entire time, they necessarily wasn't concerning themselves with height and weight, right? Because the performance on the AFT exempted them from this. Now, this individual who took this AFT scored a 500, by the way, was probably leading your remedial PT program because of performance, not appearance. Now, if the commander said, we're doing 100% right now, this person would be flagged. I don't think that's right. I don't think it's right for it to be effective right now. This is what I mean. That's my little opening thing to that. And we can talk about this. We can have this conversation if y'all want. Y'all can give y'all input, insight, but this is just my thought on this thing right here, on this particular part of this directive.
I can tell you, after looking at hundreds of in-bodies of people who are normal weight and looking at their muscle tone and body fat, who will pass this test without an issue, their muscle tone is so low but their body fat is higher, versus I have high performers who are going to be struggling on this, who had the AFT exemption. And, if I got them on the in-body, sure, their BMI might be elevated, but who cares? Because they had a high muscle tone. So, I wish we still had the AFT exemption to this policy.
Yeah, and that's something I would love to have higher headquarters, like HQDA, like SMA chime in on this, because if I'm not mistaken, I remember Sec War when he pushed out this initiative back in December of last year. He did mention, if I'm not mistaken, in his memorandum that he was okay with any type of exemptions when it came to PT tests. So I don't know where, as far as Army leadership, where they thought that this would be a good idea to do this regardless of exemption. Personally, as a senior NCO, I think, hey, if you are crushing it for your AFT, you shouldn't have to be taped. You should. That's just I completely stand with that stance. Because you're showing that you're a high performer, that you're getting after it.
Yeah, and if you want to change the exemption, change the exemption. If you want to make it like 90 points in every event, fine, but still give them that option.
Because, and I'm just like, CP in the chat, like, having a high AFT score should be rewarded, right? Like, someone can see this and like, hey, well, it'll go into your evaluation. And we know that, that does lead to promotion and those kind of things there too. But other than that, like, hey, like, what's the true incentive of getting a high AFT?
bragging points.
Exactly.
Promotion points. That's about it.
You know.
But I mean, but we have to think
Yeah.
about like before all these changes with the ACFT and all of this. Like this used to be a Army norm, right? Like I think all of us have been in the Army long enough to know that. Maybe I don't know, Captain Ori, how long you've been in now. Maybe you're like the unicorn of this, but this is not new. Which is going back to something that's older, right? And so how do we embrace it? But I do agree, like you have to give a proper amount of time to where soldiers can lose the inches in a healthy way, and a lot of times the waist is the last thing to go when you're talking about losing weight. And so
Yeah.
not having these soldiers get on this crash diet. I don't want soldiers hurting themselves trying to get in compliance because they don't want to be flagged.
But
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that's just okay. So I like to think that people that are, let's say, I'm just saying AFT specifically, high performers, they have a high drive, right? To overly excel, right? And then that's a good thing. But that also can be a negative thing, right? Because if I've overly excelled and never had to, and I have not had to worry about being taped due to my AFT performance, now who said I'm not going to take this same approach that I had for AFT performance and use it for weight loss? If I'm not advocating, I'm not saying, I'm just being real. I'm not saying that it's the healthy way, but someone that is wired like that may have an issue with being on this side of it or on the good. And then now all of a sudden, if a commander right now said, I'm doing 100% height and weight on you right now, and I'm being flagged in the ABCP, that does something here to the psychological, right?
I agree. I mean, let's talk about it. The way that it looks like they're focused on aesthetics than performance.
Fact.
Yeah.
Bottom line up front. So you're telling me that I can max my AFT, still feel height and weight, and I'm going to be flagged?
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying is that this is not a new Army norm, right? So we changed it for a while, and maybe they'll realize that incentivizing fitness is more important. Like, for instance, in special operations, that's huge, right? For them to be able to perform at a high level. But I also think if they decide to go back to the incentivizing, how do we ensure to do this safely?
I think the biggest thing is you gotta go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say the biggest thing is you have to have those conversations with your soldiers or peers or whoever it may be, right? Like if the commander decides to tape you tomorrow and you flag, that's not the end all be all. And there's a healthy way to go about it. And you have time. You have to mess into that. You can't, yes, they're gonna be intimidated by the process. Yes, they might even spiral, right? But it's leaders like us that have to step in and say, hey, let's talk. Let's be realistic. You're not getting out of the Army tomorrow just because you got flagged. We have 6 months to get you back in compliance, and this is how we're going to do it. And that's when you provide them the resources. If you got to hand walk them, you hand walk them, right? And then you got to check in with them mentally. If they got to go to behavioral health to talk to somebody about it, then that's what they got to do. But that should be part of the process too, because we all know when you get flagged, there's a stigma behind it. So we have to make sure that we're talking to our soldiers, we're taking care of our soldiers mentally and physically.
And I think this is where H2F plays a huge role, because like you got dietitians, but you also have cognitive performance specialists. You have sleep, you have strength, spiritual. So all of those will go in and play together. I can't tell you how many times someone sits in my office and we don't talk about nutrition because their stress level is so high. So nutrition is honestly the least of my worries. We're just dealing with real life issues. And if we can figure out how to pay for groceries or something along those lines, that stress can be relieved. And it helps the soldier just overall. And then I walk them down the hall over to that cognitive performance specialist, or let's talk about sleep, because if they're not sleeping, their hormones are completely screwed.
Stress will do something to the body if you don't know.
Yeah, I think my only recommendation is, right, if a commander or sergeant major, an advisor to a commander was listening, first sergeant was listening. I know we like to be proactive and get ahead of things, right? But take care of the soldier. And this is what I mean. There are some units right now. Once again, I'm just going who probably already did 100%.
Started yesterday. Yep.
Right, already did 100%. And once again, I got a sense of the spot for those AFT exemptors. Okay, because once again, they perform outstanding, and now they're on the outside looking in, right? Which it's because of the performance, there's a shared understanding that all right, we know that you can adapt your body and do all of these things, but you got until 1 September, man. Dude, my recommendation, if it was me and I was a first sergeant, well, I was sergeant major, what I would say is we're gonna do 100%. We're gonna do 100% courtesy with the new standard.
Yes,
100% courtesy with the new standard right now, wherever you are right now. The Army said by 1 October, okay, soldier, I'm going to give you until 1 October or 30 September before you get your record weight to height to weight ratio test in ATIS, right? Got the how-to and certification. Nothing's really being ATIS until next week. Not every unit has H2Fs. All right, so 29 September, right? So if it's me, if I was the first sergeant major, and I was advising a commander of some sort, I am 100% going to do a courtesy, right? And then I probably wouldn't do anything official, the record test until 29 to alleviate the stress, the anxiety, because what's going to happen is you're going to have, I don't want to say what people be doing because some people I don't know, and I don't want to say it and give them the insight and they jump on it, right? Because they jumped on it without getting it medically prescribed. But there are folks taking that, you know what I'm saying, that pill to help them lose weight, and it wasn't prescribed by a dietitian or a medical doctor, right? And so the thing is try to protect the asset, which is a soldier. You know what I mean? I think right now, the Army does change, and usually there's a phase change, right? When we went from ASUs to AGSUs, they didn't say it's official. You got to have this right now, right? This is released and effective, like in effective right now, and that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I think what I would oh, go ahead, Mike.
Oh no, you're good.
What I was going to impress upon you, right, is like, okay, it is what it is right now, and so like us having to move forward, but then the other piece is there are ways to advocate to have policy changes, right? So whether it's through white paper, etc., and the value of having, for instance, exemptions for those that are high physical performers. And so that would be something that I would share to the force to consider doing, you know, or it may be something that they realize very quickly has negative implications and they make the decision to change it on their own, which they very well could do. But I would just share, like, you know, as someone that has seen policy change through proper advocacy, there are ways to get it at a table to be talked about.
Yep. You see the message from Sergeant Major Cass? I've already scheduled for my division for 29 September. I had a conversation with my soldiers to ensure we're all tracking and have time to react if we need to. Yeah, I mean,
that's spot on.
That's my only caution to leaders, right? My only recommendation to leaders, man. You know, that's what I would do is I wouldn't be so quick to get somebody flagged with this change, especially if once again they remove that incentive. And
you know, if I was sitting as a first sergeant right now, my conversation with the commander would be train your teams. Train your teams. Train your teams. We are not executing this. I would recommend not executing this until we get whoever is going to lay that tape down. They train. They spot on. Get them trained first, but because last thing you want to do is you jump the gun on this and you start and you're doing it wrong. And you're creating a whole different standard for your organization.
Yeah. So I got a question for Captain Ori. I'm sorry. What are things, since we got sergeant majors, first sergeants, commanders listening right now, what are some signs that these leaders or all leaders need to pay attention to spot early on if a soldier is actually losing weight in an unhealthy manner? What are things we should be looking
Yeah.
for?
Great question. So obviously weight loss, but more like irritability, having a hard time sleeping. Maybe they're a little bit like snappier at work than they would be. You don't see them eating anymore. Chewing gum constantly, that can kind of curb appetite. And performance too. If they're running and they can't keep up like they used to, or they're not being able to lift the weight that they could, those are all just like red flags. Like Maisha said, like she had like soldiers just like crumbling on the side of the road because they weren't fueling themselves enough. So all of those signs will go into play, and just look at that overall soldier in general. And even if it's asking his friend or something along those lines, hey, what's going on with him? Get a little bit deeper insight. Yeah. But no, I'm definitely worried, especially with some of the things that were mentioned in the chat. And like Joan said, the issue with some of the items out there, if you are not using them with a trained medical staff, is you'll lose weight, but what you're going to lose is your muscle tone along with body fat. And then also, if you're losing that much weight that drastically, your bone mineral density is going to be screwed. You're going to lose so much bone mineral density, and then as soon as you get off that medication, you're going to gain that weight back, but majority of that is going to be body fat. So
I was also going to say something, ma'am, like, we get so focused on what we want to look like on the outside that we forget what we're doing to the inside because you can't see it, right?
Yeah.
Your kidney, your liver, your pancreas, all that is going to take a hit when you're putting things in your body that shouldn't be there, or you're putting too much, or you're not going based off of what the doctor is telling you or whether it's prescribed. And you can't see that until it's too late.
Yeah. So those are questions that I always ask my soldiers. How are you sleeping? How did your run feel? How was your lift? Are you increasing weight? They're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, then let's pay attention to those numbers instead of all the other aspects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was going to say too, because I know you talked about like performance based, but other things that I noticed with my soldier that were concerning as far as like sleep or whatever was like dark circles under his eyes, and he's like in his early 20s, right? Teeth, because like she's talking about mineralization, right? You could see that his teeth were starting to decay, as well as like you said, the exhaustion and things like that. So there can also be physiological signs that show as well that they are nutrient deficient, as not just performance based, because sometimes people can mask it pretty well until they just can't anymore. And because their body starts breaking down where you can visibly see it.
Yeah, you can even see like their skin becomes more dull and cracked. And so definitely just paying attention.
You know what I would say too is that I don't know if as a collective we are utilizing the Army Wellness Center resources enough, and the H2Fs and the M2Fs, and putting emphasis on the school. I would also like to think that since the Army since this is the change, if there's ever going to be look at into what food is offered on post, right? Because you want this soldier to be this look and to be within this, rightfully so. I understand that, but we're talking about the abdomen area in this weight to height ratio. I'm be honest, the abs is made in the kitchen.
Yeah,
the abs is
real. It's real.
It's so I got a question though, ma'am. So what are some things, foods, positive habits, healthy habits that soldiers can do right now to kind of start this process if they have not already started on it without being super extreme and hurt themselves?
Yeah. So the first thing is like you said, don't be super extreme. If you try to just have a complete change in your diet and you're like, I'm going to eat everything perfect, it's not going to work. You're going to fail in a couple of days. You're going to get overwhelmed. You're not going to know what to do. And then you're going to be going through Burger King drive-through in a couple of days. So whatever you're making your plate, the easiest way is think about a protein, a carb, and a color. So color being a fruit or vegetable. And if weight loss is your goal for lots of these people, it will be, try to get half your plate that color. So fruits and vegetables. about a quarter of your plate those lean proteins. Think chicken, fish, turkey, baked, broiled, grilled, and then some form of carbohydrates. Because like people think carbs are the enemy, right? No, so they give your body energy, and if you don't eat or consume a little bit of carbohydrates, your body is going to be actually breaking down your lean muscle and storing your body fat. So you want to make sure to have all three of those items on your plate, and try to have that plan, and don't try to make it perfect. Try to think convenience. You can microwave food. You can get a rotisserie chicken. You can go through the drive-thru. You could get a grilled chicken sandwich. So you can still make healthy options, and looking at your drink choices. First of all, if you're worried about it, cutting out alcohol is honestly one of the easiest options out there to lose weight pretty quickly, and your sleep's going to improve, and which will also help body comp. But looking at your drinks, choosing sugar-free beverages, not going to Starbucks all the time, or getting the sugar-free options. Even energy drinks, switching over to a sugar-free energy drink. I wish I had an hour to just talk about nutrition.
Yeah. Mike Dog, I know we're talking about nutrition. Somebody said I might talk about OCP. Can we pull up the directive real quick? Because let's get to the administrative part of this entire process, right? Standard adopted, no secondary. All right, so I'm assuming that everyone has seen this directive, right? But bottom line up front is that there's no secondary option, right? Now here's the thing. I had a soldier who lost an extreme amount of weight. However, the skin, the skin of him. I don't know how to explain. I don't know how to say this. He had a lot of skin from the weight he used to have.
Extra skin.
The extra skin.
Mm-hmm.
He would fail the take test because of the skin that was overlapping and hanging, but then he will pass the bod pod test, right? And so now, for me, I guess that's a question, a RFI that needs to be sent up, because we do have soldiers in all formations who were extremely large at one point in time and then lost a lot of weight the healthy way, and the skin, however, did not conform to the body. What you got for that for us, man, for that part of it?
So I've seen this a good bit, actually. I was over at Fort Jackson before PCSing up to Braggs, so we had the ARMS program, the body count program. With this one, it kind of plays in our favor right now a little bit, because it does say at the navel for one measurement, and so with the extra skin, navel could be lower. It could be harder to actually measure, but you also have the other site where it's the midpoint in between the iliac crest and the bottom rib, so that might give you a little bit better measurement. That's what I would use right now.
That is assuming that the tape team understands all of those nuances and knows that, right? So it kind of goes back to educating the tape teams as well.
So important.
Really, all NCOs need to be. We all need to get. I feel like every NCO should be certified, right? Minimum. The same.
And I'm not trying to push anything on anybody, but if you do have extra skin and it is that bad to where you fail tape, you can go through your PCM and try a surgical option, but you have to go through a process. I'm not trying to push that. I'm just giving information to the field if it ever becomes relevant to somebody.
My dog, can we go to page 2? Unless you got anything for this. Do y'all have anything for this page? All right. If it's determined that the soldier's initial weight to height ratio does not meet the standard, a confirmation measurement will be conducted. We talked about this. And once again, this is, I'm thinking it's understood. If you add 0.55, you're over.
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. You're flagged. If you're at the 0.55, you are out of compliance. Mm-hmm. No AFT exempt, no AFT score exempt soldier. We talked about this. All soldiers will be recorded on the DA form 5500. And for those who have not looked at the 5500 or read this directive, what the force is talking about, and maybe once again the answers have already came out since then. The directive says one thing of where you should measure. the naval, and then or one says the naval, the other says the midpoint, right? So I think the Army in general is waiting for this R5 to come back. And what is the site of measurement that we're supposed to be using to tape soldiers? Right. All soldiers will have a record completed and recorded in ATIS no later than 90 days from the date of this directive, right? 29 September. Commanders may at any time, this has always been a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm a commander, I'm gonna read this part and I'm gonna say what I'm about to say. Commanders may at any time direct a soldier to undergo a height to weight ratio, weight to height ratio assessment if they
waist to height.
Waist to height ratio assessment if they are concerned that the soldier does not meet the standard. Now I'm gonna say this, Commander. Make sure you talk to legal or Sharp and EO, because when I see this part right here, sometimes soldiers can flip things and say I'm being targeted. They updated the annex. It no longer has an endpoint unless there's no belly button. They corrected the annex overnight. Okay, got you. What if they have 3 belly buttons? You know, I'm not dealing with
All right, now.
The requirement for the requirement for a commander to designate a non-commissioned officer for the ABCP administration is hereby rescinded. Commanders are directly responsible for the oversight, quality control, and execution of the body composition program within their unit. We talked about that already. And the flag K code. So I guess this is just me asking out loud. So if you are flagged, because I don't see this in the directive, do you still go see a dietitian?
So I don't think the rules to the ABCP program changed. I think it's just the way we conduct
How we do it.
the measurement
Yeah.
and obviously we're not using height or weight anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Got you.
Yeah, it's like.
But I don't think the enrollment requirements are changing.
Mm-mm. Yeah, I don't think so.
All right.
Either.
Don't be scared. Don't be scared, commanders in the SEALs. Ain't nothing sharp about a commander saying, hey, first sergeant. Yeah, 100%. Now, progression requirements. Progression requirements and mandatory monthly assessments while enrolled in the ABCP are hereby rescinded. Progression requirements. I'm just saying that part right
So that
there
takes away that percentage in that weight loss that you have to have every month.
showing progress every month. So now it says commanders and supervisors will determine when to assess soldiers and will administratively remove a soldier from the ABCP as soon as the soldier meets the waist to height ratio standard.
But you know what that sounds like to me when I read that? To me, it sounds like you have to advocate for your soldier. You have to know your soldier, but the soldier has to advocate for themselves too. If you are meeting the mark and you good to go, let's say you got put on a program 3 weeks in, and 3 weeks in you good to go. Hey, Sergeant, can we talk the first one about getting the tape done? Period. Point blank. You have to advocate for yourself.
So being enrolled in the program and showing progress is no longer a reason why you can stay in that program for an extended period of time. Right? Is that essentially what that is saying?
No, right? I think so. The way I take it is so it used to be like if you had 2 months of no progress, they could chapter you.
Yes.
I take it as they took that rule away, right? Now you can go 2 months with no progress and still continue to stay on the program for all the way to the 6-month mark before you're chaptered. That's how I took it.
That's a good point.
Yeah. And then the last thing I'll say about the directive as far as administratively, right, is boom, you can flag within the first 90 days, cannot initiate any separation action until day 181. That's the biggest thing right now. Now, I guess the question is when you're on the program, is it 6 months and then you can be separated going forward after this is, or is it a year on the program?
When I read the directive, it didn't give me a clear answer.
Right, and because now I'm asking these things on this digital platform because this is what I'm thinking, and I wonder, have you all in your organizations found an answer to this? How long can a soldier be on this program now? Right.
That's solid. Yeah. You ever want to quote the 5,500 real quick?
100%.
That's what we're looking at. That's what we're looking like. This is the new update. This is a new update. As you can see, again, 3 tapes. If it's more than an inch, you got to get that. You got to get that additional one. Okay. Now on this 5,500, it does say the navel belly button. That is the midpoint, quote unquote. That's where you are taping at.
Hey, my dog, real quick, hold on. We got a message from First Heart Payne in chat. If you have a soldier currently being chaptered under the old ABCP standard, that is paused. And then Sergeant Major Norris, hey, self accountability.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But this is discrepancy. My bad, bro.
No, you're good. You're good. Like I said, this is new 5,500. 5,500 again. The 5,501 has been rescinded. And again, the biggest thing that you're just making sure you're within compliance here. Making sure again, it's a 2 individual tape team. Now, again, I've been to organizations where it's been 3 people. It's been 1 recorder and 2. We got 1 observer, 1 recorder, and 1 actually laying down the tape. I've seen it done that way. Again, add to not take away. Adding protective measures against an organization. Again, somebody is getting down on that knee at that midpoint, laying that tape across. That individual behind them is going around, making sure the tape's good to go. Tapping 1 time is good. Tapping twice, you gotta do a retake. You call out the numbers, everybody good to go. You call it out twice and make sure everybody's tracking the same thing. The recorder input it in, and you good to go. But this is the updated 5,500 for the tape.
Yeah.
This one also says for height, round up to the nearest half inch too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there it is. I did have a question, Jules. So I know there's leaders out there watching this podcast that they don't have an H2F team either a part of it, like organically with their organization or even on the installation. How would you advise leaders that may not have these types of programs and organizations to coach soldiers through this process that may be struggling?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. If they have a like Armed Forces Wellness Center or Army Wellness Center, that's probably one of the easiest resources, but I'm assuming they may not have that resource either. So they could use that one. They could look up, I would send your NCOs to the H2F Academy so they can actually become skilled and knowledgeable in all these subjects so they can bring this material back to their unit. Also, reach out to any dietitians, any H2F teams. I literally commissioned to do this for a living. I wanted to get out of the hospital, so I'm always willing to help out within like my limits because I still have to make sure my unit's taken care of as well. So between other H2F teams, other medical treatment facilities, you can reach out to those dietitians, and even if it's like a Zoom class or something along those lines, that is always a possibility.
No, that's solid. That's rock solid.
Yes. Yeah. So we got a question for you in the chat, ma'am. Someone asked, can I reach out to you for a virtual class in my unit? We aren't on an installation.
Yes, I'm the only dual Ori in global, so I should be pretty easy to find. Just shoot me an email.
Yeah. Well, that's the directive.
Mm-hmm.
That we went over the annex.
That's it.
That's pretty much it. You know, once again, the intent of the podcast, we're just giving y'all live. We're just reading just like everyone else, man. Right?
Mm-hmm.
We just having live conversations and asking questions.
That's it.
But here's the bottom line, though. Hey, they put it out there. They put it out what it is and what it isn't. And then, hey, we gotta just get. If you're not where we're supposed to be, you gotta get where we need to be. You know what I mean? Yeah. You know.
And it's better to notice it earlier. If you notice your soldier gaining weight, just talk to them, send them, take care of them before it's too late.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, it's about that time for the podcast to get ready to close it out. So we do something what's called Drop the Two in the Kit, where we dropped a lot of nuggets throughout the podcast, inspirational, motivational, talking points, teaching points, etc. This is everybody's chance to go out with a bang and drop your two in the kit for the team. So who want to go first?
Tail, go first.
Boo.
You.
Okay. Hey, this is my two in the kit. The people that can adjust the fastest have an easier time, even though it's still difficult, right? And once again, I'm talking to the AFT exemplars right now. That thing is no longer a thing right now, right? And I know you was getting the 500. I know you was getting the 465, right? And didn't have to concern yourself with the take test. Well, now we do, and so now that we know, yeah, we got to lock in a different way. You know what I mean? Now you can't just go to McDonald's every day. I'm talking to myself now. You know what I mean? And then you got to put in the work in a different way, right? In a dietary fashion. But you don't got to kill yourself either to try to get there in 30 days. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you don't got to do that. You don't got to harm yourself, right? Because your family needs you. There's life after this, and people are depending on you. So, hey, do what you do. Change what you eat. Do a little more cardio. Try to get 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Get the fruits and the vegetables, man, and let everything else. Just do the work and don't worry about the results to take care of itself. That's my two in the kid for real.
So you passing the torch to?
Oh, we're gonna pass it to Miss Christine.
Hey, there you go.
So I'm gonna say, because me and Tay was talking about this earlier, right? If you're a leader that has the mindset, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready, throw it out the window, because it don't work for everybody. And I say that because when I was a young staff sergeant, I had that mentality. Then I had my second kid at 30, and let me tell you something. You don't bounce back the same. And the AFT exemption is what saved me. So it wasn't that I wasn't doing the work, that I wasn't disciplined, because if you know me, you know I'm very disciplined. I ran marathons, I've done CrossFit, I've done all that stuff, right? Sometimes it just takes the body longer and the mind longer. So just because you never struggle with it doesn't mean you can't have compassion for the soldiers that do struggle with it. And that's all I got.
And I would say there's always a lot of underlying medical conditions or other issues that's not at the surface that you think they might just be a low achieving soldier, where really they have just so much shit going on. Yep. So taking care of that soldier and not just throwing that stereotype on there would be my biggest thing. Getting them help early, checking in on them. All right, Mike.
I close it out.
What was yours?
I've been in the Army 16 years as of June 23rd. And I would describe the Army as an ever-changing organization. That is consistent. The Army will consistently change. That's if you've been in longer than a month, you'll realize that very quickly. Now, some would say that the amount of change that we've seen in the last few years have been very constant and rapid, and that's also a very true statement. But it's still, the facts still stay the same. Something's gonna change. Now you can wallow and you can throw your pity parties and you can say your 7-letter cuss words and all that stuff. Good to go. When you wake up in the morning, do you still put the uniform on? And the question is yes. Then you have a responsibility to be within the standard. And if you choose not to be in the standard, then you need to choose to be out of the organization. I'm going to say that one more time. If you choose not to be in standard, then you need to choose to leave the organization because it's not for you. And that's okay. It's not for everybody. Less than 1% of America joined the United States Armed Forces. It's something that was beat into our head when we was in recruiting school and we were trying to get all these high-speed Americans to join the armed forces. Like, hey, this is the population you got to work with. Hey, if you serve this country, you are part of a very different group. And you're going to be held to a standard. And if you can't meet the standard, then you need to be out of the organization. So I say that with compassion, though. I really do. Because at the end of the day, it's like Justin said, don't kill yourself to try to get into compliance. Slow walk this thing. If you're not where you need to be at, get a true assessment. You get that true assessment. You surround yourself with great people. One, that's going to uplift and encourage and inspire and motivate. And then two, that's going to coach you get in the direction that you need to be. And if you do those two things right, I promise you'll be on good ground. But you got this. You got this. That's all I got. So, Jones, go ahead and close us out, babe. Matter of fact, no. Christine, new co-host.
I dropped my tool in the kit. That was my closeout.
No, new
That was
co-host. Close us out.
What am I supposed to say? Bye.
I'll help you out on this one. You will close us out the next one. But no, hey, seriously, thank you to everybody who supports the podcast, stuck around this hour and 20 minutes through this think tank as we discussed the updated changes when it comes to the waist to height ratio for the Army. Jewel, we thank you so much for hopping on tonight and giving a light when it comes to the H12 space, because that is truly needed in our organization. We can't say thank you enough.
It was great being here. Thank you.
Maisha is somewhere trying to get her bearings together when it comes to technology, so we appreciate her for jumping on too.
It ain't technology. She's in PCS, and leave her alone.
CP's getting some much needed trolling rest in the chat. We appreciate him for always repping the Lone Star chapter. You know, shout out to National AGCRA for always supporting us and everything that we do. And last but not least, if you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, I need you to jump on that. We got the 1,000 followers on Facebook. We need that same energy on YouTube. We need that same energy. Because guess what? The more traction we gain on different platforms, that's the more voices get to hear what we're trying to say and trying to push. And we're trying to push for positive change in the organization. We're trying to inspire and motivate, baby. That's why we got this platform to begin with. But again, appreciate everybody for jumping on. Y'all have a great night and looking forward to seeing you on the next podcast.
Bye.